Hi, I'm Rich Embling, the Urban Tinker on Facebook and Instagram. And today I'll be carving a freaky little skull. So yeah, welcome to the International Association of Woodcarvers and enjoy.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the International Association of Woodcarvers. As you guys can tell, I am Dave Levy. I'm not Blake Lunsford. Blake is not with us today. I'm going to play a video here in a second and kind of explain a little bit of that. We're got a great show getting ready to come up for you, a good presentation getting ready to happen. Richard Embling is going to be doing this for us. But before we get started with that, give me just a second. I'm going to screen share and I'm going to play a video here from Blake to you guys.
Hey guys, it's Blake Lunsford here. Hey, I want to say, first of all, I apologize for not being on the meeting today. I have some things I need to go take care of. But I know you're in good hands with Dave Levy and Dave Stetson. So I hope it's a great meeting. I was looking forward to being on this meeting with Rich Embling. He's one of my favorite carvers out there. And I know you are going to really enjoy his presentation. Rich is promoting his new book. It's called Carving Low Relieve Caricature Faces. And so he's going to be talking about that some in the meeting today. What we're going to do, though, is he donated this book for us to include in one of our auctions. So this Saturday, in the meeting live, we're going to do an auction like we normally do. And unfortunately, I won't be there, but Dave will monitor it for me. We're going to auction off this autographed Signature Series Helvey Rich Weatherby knife. There's Rich's signature. He signed that out in Colorado Springs. There is where Rich Smiths and Burnt Weatherby on that side. This is about a 2 1/4 inch blade. Again, Rich Weatherby has autographed it, and we're going to let you place your bids in the chat for that. But the winner of that is also going to get the copy of Rich Embling's book and some stickers that he sent over to us. So make sure you bid on this knife. It's a good opportunity to get a Helvey. All the proceeds go to support our meetings through the International Association of Woodcarvers. I just want to shout out to Rich Embling. Hey, I apologize for not being there. I know you're going to do a great presentation, and I'll be watching it later. But thanks again for coming on and presenting for us. I know everybody's going to really enjoy what you have to offer in our meeting. I will see you all next Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Same time as always, and we'll talk about the upcoming meetings and things like that. So thank you all for joining us today. I'll be back next Saturday. Have a great meeting. We'll talk to you soon. Again, Rich Weatherby knife and book auction. Place your bids in the chat. Dave will let me know who wins, and I will get in touch with you and work out the details as far as getting payment so that we can get that shipped out to you. See you next Saturday. Thank you all.
So guys, as Blake said, we're going to be doing the knife auction for the Weatherby knife that is going to be auctioned off today, and also Rich's Embling's book with that. So notice that'll go together. Please put your bids in the chat with that, and I'll look through that as we're going on throughout the chat side. So I appreciate that with you guys for doing that. With that being said, I'm going to go here and I'm going to turn everything to Dave for our words of wisdoms. The Dave and Dave show for a minute here. So Mr. Stetson is going to come on here and he's going to give us our words of wisdom.
Okay. Hey, thanks, Dave. Quick word today is on limitations, and never let what you cannot do interfere with what you can do.
Thank you, Dave. That's a great word. He said that earlier in his class that he's doing, and it was something to really think about for a while. So if you didn't hear it, didn't catch it, go back and listen to it 4 or 5 times and let that sink in for you guys. So as we get started, I'm going to give you guys who's coming up and some classes that are going to be going on. Darren Cordell is getting ready to start her doll class November 4th. So if you want to sign up for that, contact Janet. Dale Green is going to be doing his Kringle class, and I saw Dale jumping on the video here just a second ago. That's going to start November 2nd, but the last day to sign up for that is going to be October 26th. So make sure you get signed up for that very quickly. Dwayne Gosnell is going to do a Babushka Santa on November 12th and 26th for his monthly classes that he does. And then he's going to have another class that starts on December 10th, which is Vic the Handsome Viking. So if you're interested in any of those things, go ahead and contact those teachers, and they will tell you how to get into that class and what you need for that. Our upcoming presenters that we have coming up, we've got Dale Green, who I just mentioned a second ago, is going to have his Santa class, his Kringle class. Dale is going to be on here on October 26th, which, as I said a minute ago, is the last day to sign up for his class. So good time for him to come on. Then we're going to have on November 2nd, Johnny Layton's going to be here. And November 9th, we're going to have Pat Coffey come on. He's going to be doing a presentation for us, I believe. So that's what our upcoming stuff is and things that are going on. Today, we do have Rich Embling from the United Kingdom. And actually, if I said that wrong, Rich, correct me, because I can't remember where people are. But truly, as Blake says, reminds me that we are truly an international group. And we have people from all over the world that are coming and presenting and having impact on what we're doing.
Oh, fantastic. Well, thanks, Dave and Dave. Yeah, brilliant intro. I really appreciate it. So yeah, I'm back again. It's like my yearly thing I do with you guys. Yeah, I think this is the fourth time I've been on with you guys doing. I think I've done one when I was talking about mistakes, one when I was talking about some puppets I'd made in the past. Then last year, I was on discussing a friendly Frankenstein tutorial with you guys. And then this year, I'm back again doing another Halloween piece, because that's something that I'm just very passionate about and interested in. So yeah, so thanks for having me back. I'm going to just quickly switch my camera around. And hopefully you guys should be able to see my hands. Okay, so what I wanted to start off with chatting to you guys about today was what Blake very kindly introduced and entered into the bidding for today, which was a copy of my book. So since lockdown and since the start of all of this online kind of classes and meetups, I will say that everyone has been really, really, really kind and really accepting with me joining into the meetings and discussing my carving journey and so on. And I've managed to meet and make loads of good contacts and friends across the States and the wider world and so on. And through doing so, I've done some articles for Wood Carving Illustrated. And then in the summer, my booklet came out, which is a beginner's guide to carving low relief character faces. And for any of you guys that were here in last year's session, the friendly Frankenstein head I did, which unfortunately I don't have here today, is made out of 1-inch stock material. So it's very flat. And I tried to incorporate some of the principles and processes that I used in that carving into this booklet. So yeah, the booklet goes through, gives you some basic overview of knives, tools I use, and I've tried to cover things both where you guys can get in the States and we can get it in the UK and Europe and so on. And then there's a series of projects in the book, and the series of projects are all relatable to different holiday seasons. A leprechaun for St. Patrick's Day, a heart for Valentine's Day, and so on. And then at the back of the book, there is some extra patterns so that you guys can take those principles and move it forward. So yeah, I just thought I'd do a quick promo and show the book, and it's available at Wood Carving Illustrated or Fox Chapel Publishing. And just a big shout out to those of you that have actually purchased my book and have reached out to me over social media. I just really appreciate your guys' support, and thanks a lot for getting in touch and saying, I've ordered your book, I've tried this project and so on. And yeah, just fantastic. So really, really appreciate that. So with that said, I'll go on to the project that I'm going to do with you guys today, which is going to be a simple 1-inch thick skull carving. This could be turned into like a little wearable whittled piece with a pin on the back to turn into a pin badge, or add a little magnet to the back of it. But yeah, basically it's quite a simple, straightforward Halloween kind of skull. I wanted to keep it fairly basic. I removed the idea of carving eyes, and I've added some other things in there, which I'll discuss later. But I just wanted to kind of show you guys the process that I go through, or what the process I've been going through the last year or so, with regards to my carvings. So, for those of you who don't know, I teach prop making in the university. So I do a lot of sculpture and 3D making, and then obviously my wood carving is my passion and my sideline and my hobby and so on. So I tend now, when I come up with a concept, I tend to sculpt it first, and I make these little grids in work. They've just been laser cut out 1-inch squares, and I find this really useful to then sculpt something, because I'm quite fast at sculpting in comparison to maybe carving. And I will sculpt out a reference model. I just use a wax-based clay. It's called NSP medium plastiline. That's what I use for the product I use for my own pieces. And I like sculpting with this, but it doesn't go hard, and you can't bake it like you can with Sculpey and some of the other materials that I know some of you, the rest of you guys, might have used before, and so on. But it does stay quite hard. You can put it in your fridge to cool the clay down, and then it lasts and stays a bit harder. It does pick up fluff, and you get fibers and hair and fluff and lint and things on it. So you have to be mindful of that. But what I've tended to do more recently is, once I've done my sculpts, if I want to make a replica reference model, I will mold it and make a little urethane resin replica of it, which I can then, pass on to other people and so on as reference models. So this one's been sculpted, like I say, and then this was what was the basis for this guy. Okay, so I've provided you guys with a template, and then from the template, we've ended up with this blank. And then this blank is made out of 1-inch thick stock. The measurements of it, for anyone who's interested, it was cut out of a block 3.5 inches in height by just under 3 inches wide, and it's an inch thick basswood. And I pop my glove on and then go through, tell you guys what tools I'm using and so on, and then we'll actually crack on with carving it. Can everyone hear me okay? Can I have a thumbs up off someone?
Hearing you really good, man.
Cool, fab. Okay, so there's the blank. I've cut it out in a bandsaw. My bandsaw blade is currently quite blunt, so hence you can see the burn and chatter lines on the edge of my blank, telling me I should probably change my blade. But we're going to start with this, guys, okay? So there's my blank, and then my tools I'm going to use today. I use all sorts of different brands. I get people often send me messages on social media asking me which brands are the best and which ones to use, and it really is what works for you guys. These are all Swiss-made file tools. I can get these readily available in Wales, in the UK. But I do have other tools. Like I've had things from many people on the meeting have helped me out and shipped things over and so on. But this is what I'm using today. Okay, so I've got a number 11, small number 11, 3mm. I've got a number 9, and actually it's that one, number 9/7. I've got a number 7/14, so a much flatter gouge. And then I've got a small 4mm, 1/4 inch, just under 1/4 inch V tool. So they're my main tools I'm using. And then knife wise, I've got just a bog standard bench knife. It's got a 2-inch blade in it. This is what I made myself. So yeah, but if you didn't have something like this, there's loads of other ones. I've got a nice one here from Badger State Blades, who I've ordered from in the past. Lovely knife, really keeps an edge. And then I was very fortunate to have one of the Helvies I ordered back in the last order from Rich and Holly, and that arrived yesterday. So I'll be putting this through its paces as well. This is a Blake Lunsford handle, but it's the mini Hogger blade, if anyone's interested. So yeah, it's like the standard Hogger blade they have, but much thinner. And this thing is like a laser. So yeah, I'll be using this at some point. But for the bulk of my stock removal, I will be using my Benchmade knife. It just works absolutely fine. Okay, and then I got a pencil, but I'm probably going to draw on everything with a pen because it's easier for you guys to see. And then I'll put things up to the camera and so on, and a little brush for cleaning things off. Okay, so 1 second, grab something from up the view. So the one thing that I would suggest is quite useful is we're at this time of year now with Halloween around the corner, that you can get hold of these plastic skulls quite easily now. And if you wait until just after the Halloween season, they all drop in price as well. If you're looking after the pounds or the dollars, you'll save a bit of money then by doing that. This is one I actually picked up in a charity shop or a thrift shop over here in the UK. It's very useful when you're doing. I find it very useful when I'm doing sculpts, and particularly things that like zombies and skulls and things, because you can see all the bone structure, all the undulations, and you know the eye sockets and so on, the brow bone. So this is quite useful. But I will be referring to my little sculpt as well throughout. Okay, so the first thing I did was cut out the bandsaw blank, and then I turn to the top of the blank if I can and see which way the grain directions go in. And if the grain is curving outwards as if I'm carving into the tree, that's the way I like to work. It just makes it more even when I'm carving. So the first thing I'm going to do is just very roughly draw a center line down the front of the face. And I'll do the right way around. Which one am I using? That one. Sorry, apologies. That one, because I wrote front on it to help me out. So yeah, I'm going to just draw a rough center line down the center of the face. Doesn't have to be perfect. It's going to be carved off. Okay, and I'm just going to grab my knife and I'm going to just go around the whole sharp edge of the carving, teeth and all, right away around this, and go at a 45-degree angle and take off quite a bit of that to round it and make it more comfortable when I'm carving. So
Rich, I know this will come up every time we talk, but what type of wood are you able to get and use over there?
I most commonly use linden wood or lime, which is my equivalent of American basswood. But this piece is actually a piece of basswood that I did actually manage to source over here. I do find that if I get basswood, it's slightly softer than if I get like European lime. But I prefer to carve basswood or lime or fruit wood. We don't get many like how can I kind of explain? We don't get woods like butternut. We don't get things like that over here. So I like to carve tulip wood or poplar. Doesn't bother me. That's quite nice to carve. Yeah, lime's my preferred choice though, if I can get it. So I've started to take off that edge now. Hopefully you guys can see. Which way around am I there? Yes, you can see I've taken off that edge all the way around now, and it's still a flat here, but we'll address that as we go. You can really go for it and round it now and save yourself some time later on. You just got to be careful using a straight knife because you've got all these internal and external curves that you don't catch a bit of your wood grain and rip off a piece that you might want to keep to use for later. But there's a lot of wood, even though it's only an inch thick and it's only a small block of wood. There's actually a lot of wood there that we need to remove in order to bring out all the features of the face. Because I think that's a common thing that I find when if I teach any classes over here, or if I'm doing some carvings and people ask me, can I have a go and whatnot, they just don't remove enough material. I think it's that thing that you're quite cautious of when you're a beginner. Okay, so I've taken the edge off now all the way around the blank, and the next thing I'm going to do is work out where my eye channel is, and I'm not going to be carving the eye sockets at this point. I'm just, if you can imagine, there's a line that runs through there in the center of the sockets, through the bridge of your nose there, and back through. That's where I'm going to put in next. So I'm just going to sketch that line in. And it's basically just off the top of the cheekbones here, like so. See, there's a line across there. And it doesn't matter if the line's higher on one side than the other side. Like I said when I did the Frankenstein last time, you're doing a Halloween or a monster skull, so there's no right rules and so on. Okay, so I'm going to take my number 9, 7mm number 9. And I'm going to start in the center here, and I'm just going to go out, and then from the center and go out. And the reason that I tend to start in the center and carve away, like so, is because if I try and go from this point all the way across, sometimes the grain changes direction and I rip off what I don't mean to rip off. So I'm gonna go fairly deep, as deep as I can go with this number 9. And you could use a number 11 here or a number 8 if you didn't have a number 9. You're not held at gunpoint. Okay, so you can see now I've got this channel that's coming in here now. And the next thing I'm going to do now, I've got that number 9 in my hand. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to change it up. I was going to do something else while I had it in my hand, but I'm going to change it up. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do now, once I've got in that eye line, is I'm going to draw the outline or the shape of the nose. So on this particular guy, it's just a diamond shape that I've gone for. So you can see it on the sculpt as well. That if you'll focus. You can see it down here. It's like a diamond shape. Okay, so referring to my reference model, I'm just going to come in here and draw a rough diamond shape. Check I'm happy with it. Yeah, that's all good. Okay, and then I'm going to, well, now that's drawn in, I'm going to take a number 7, so a flatter gouge, and this one's a 14mm file tools, and I'm just going to start removing some of the material from the sides of the nose here, like along this point here, down to the cheekbones, and I'm going to remove a little bit of material from above the eye socket as well, the eye line, sorry, so I can start forming the socket. So yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to come in here and start scooping. And there I've taken a chunk out of there. Let's focus in. Turn the sculpt around. I'll come back if I've caught the wings of the gouge in it, like so. And then don't worry, because at this point I'm just trying to establish some kind of eye socket. And what I'm doing is, as I'm coming in, to stop the edge of the chisel, the points of the gouge of the chisel, from digging into where I don't want it to dig in, so the top of the brow. As I come in, I twist the chisel to stop it from catching. And of course, you could grind the wings back on your chisel. I know some of the carvers on here do that, so you don't have them to actually catch on places, and you get more of a thumbnail or a bullnose grind on the bevel of the chisel. Okay, and then I'm just going to go back to that number 9 and clean out some of those bits where it's caught, where I don't like it. You can see I'm starting to establish some kind of bleaching out socket there. Okay. Okay, fantastic. Okay, so at this point we're starting to look again some kind of profile on the face. So we've still got quite a lot of material above here, in above the eyes, in this top part of the front of the head. So I think we're going to go and look at that next. So I'm just going to take the same number 9 I had. I'm going to come and I'm going to split between the brow and back on the bridge of the nose, like so. Nope. So I've now split it between there. And I want to take some of this material back. But if I start carving this away, I often worry when I'm doing something like a flat face that I'm going to remove too much of the material there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this gouge, and I'm going to, the same gouge, and I'm going to define the brow bone next. So I'm going to just do a scoop cut around that. And you can see that we've got the brows, they're flat there. Okay, and then I'm actually going to take away some of this material, so I'm going to jump back to that flat number 7, and I'm going to go in and remove quite a lot of that material from above it. So if I turn it to the side now, you can see how heavy my chisel marks are, which is fine because we'll clean those up later. I'm starting to take that skull head back. So that way I think you can see it's now further back than the bridge, the brow bone, sorry. And the nose is down here. Okay, and I'm going to jump back to my knife now and round this off. And I'm just trying to round off some of those harsh chisel lines that I had here, sort of rounded over the top. Okay, so we're starting to get some shape up here now. The one thing that we are missing up on the top here is I've done some heavy dips here and here on either side of the head. They're obviously not on a real skull, but they are on my little study to give it a bit more kind of form and fun. So I'm going to do a roll cut in this area here. Draw it on. In there and there, I'm going to do a roll cut. So you can see if I turn it like that, the dip there. And the same on the other side. So I've gone deeper in here and here to give it some shape. Okie dokie. Okay, so we've started to shape the top of the head. We've rounded off the brow a little bit. I'm going to actually go in and I'm going to exaggerate this brow bone a bit more with this number 7mm, number 9. So there's a lot of repetition. I tried to limit the amount of gouges I was using to try and make it more user-friendly for some of you guys. I'm gonna round the brow off a little bit. Same again, take my flat gouge, take out any bits where the edges of the chisels catching. So at this point, we've got some shape here now. We've got the brows in, we've got the eye sockets just very loosely put in place. The nose is in the middle there. Okay, so we're going to look at our reference model for 2 seconds. And the next bit we're going to do now is we've marked the bottom of the nose. So running off that bottom diamond shape there, we're going to do a line that comes round into the cheekbone, comes round and into the cheekbone. And same again, this is not entirely anatomically correct, but it does give it some nice shape. You can see that line that runs from underside of the nose, or lack of nose, and then underneath that cheekbone there. Okay, so that's what we're going to do next. We're going to use the same number 9, that 7mm number 9, and we're going to just start in the middle, come around and go down and underneath the cheekbone. Same again, start in the middle, go down on the other side, underneath the nose, come around and go under the cheekbone. So we come around and under, round and under. Okay, and we can take my knife because we now have a ridge here from the edges of the wing of the tool from this one. We have a ridge here and here, so let's get rid of that with a knife. And this is also forming the mouth mound area as well as we're working underneath here. So this will eventually become rounded. So I'm going to repeat that process. And once again, take off the hard edge left from the gouge. So we're getting underneath this cheekbone. Okay, so I'm going to leave the bottom of the mouth for a minute, and I'm going to come back up and address a bit more of the face. So I'm going to actually change to a slightly smaller number 9, which is this 5mm number 9, and I'm going to go back over those cheekbone areas just to make them pop a bit more. And sometimes I twist the tool if I can't quite get the angle or the grain direction changes over pushing it, because sometimes when I push it, it just splits off. Sometimes it's easier if it twists it, or it could be the fact that the tool's blunt. And once again, we have those high spots here and here left from the gouge, so we'll take those away. But don't get me wrong, you could do a lot of this with the knife without the gouge or gouges, but this is just the way that I've been playing around with it recently, so I thought I'd share it with you guys. Okay, so I'm going to take some material away from this point here now, where I've got my center line coming underneath the nose. I'm going to just remove a load of this material here so that I start to bring the bottom of the nose forward and I take the mouth mound back. And if you see those little drag lines there, that's just told me that I've got a chip in the end of my knife blade there. So retire that one and change to a different knife. And now I don't have those marks there. So that's telltale if you're new to carving. And that lovely cracking sound was me ripping out some of the wood grain. So be careful of that. Now if I turn on the side again, you can now see that we're further back here. The nose is quite further forward here. At the front, the cheekbones are right at the same line with the nose at this point. Then the brows there and the head angles back. And because it's a skull, I'm going to take even more material off there. So I'm going to come back through here again with that number 9, the bigger one, the number 7mm number 9. And back through there again, under the cheekbones. And grab my knife, get rid of any unsightly high points that I don't need. And same again, turn it on the side, check for the profile. This is working its way back now, like on this guy. Okay, and then the next thing I'm going to do is just because I find it easier when I'm carving to make it more comfortable in my hand, is on the back side of the skull here, you can see I've removed behind the teeth. So you've got that kind of curve of where the dentures would be, but they're straight on this guy. So I'm going to go onto the back of the carving and I'm going to carve away some of the material here, angling it forward. And a sharp knife's good at this point. Makes light work of that. So that's that. Like with this one. Okay. Right then. So we're going to start now to take a step back, look at the carving, work out which bits we like, which bits we don't like, and start going around and start to define and deepen areas. So right now on this part of the face here, I forgot the name of, it'll come back to me in a second. On the edges of the eye socket, yeah, I'm gonna the temple area around here. That's the word I was looking for, temple area. I'm going to hollow out this area a little bit, jumping back to that number 7. Jumping back to that flat number 7, I was using the 14mm. I'm going to go into here and take out an area there, and the same on the other side. And I'm then going to take my knife, and this is where a thinner knife like this comes in handy, really useful. I'm going to roll through here and back on myself. So I've now got a hollow coming through this part of the bony cheek area into the temple area. And you can hear the knife chatter clicking occasionally, but it's nothing to really worry about at this point. Okay, so we're going to go back to these eyes, and I like the brow. I like the top of the shape of the head here. All right, we've got some flats here, but we can get rid of those later. And I kind of like this area here. I like the size that I'm starting to create in here, but obviously we need to go much deeper, because there's not much depth at this point here. So I'm going to go back to that number 9, 7mm number 9, and my plan is to start in here and here, wide, run my number 9 up to this point, stop, then run my number 9 in from this point and stop. So from down here along the side of the nose into the deepest part of the eye, or where the eye would be in the eye socket, and then from the outer edge of the eye into there, and the same on the other side. Work my way in that direction. And I'm going to go for this good old number 9 7mm. So like so, and stop, pull out my chisel. Don't push my chisel up or down, pull it back out. Pull my chisel out, go to the corner of the eye here, go in, meet in with where I came out earlier, and then remove that. Do the same on this side. Wiggle your chisel if you need to. Stop there, and then pop this out by just going in and out comes that piece. And you end up with, wherever he's gone, oh yeah, there you go. You end up with that chip, like so, coming out. So I'll do it again on this one. So back into that corner now on the deepest part of the eye. Pop him in, out comes that chip. We're starting to get some depth in here now. Okay. So it'll probably make it easier for you guys if I sketched in the eye socket shape. So for me, the eye socket shape is something along the lines of that. It's kind of, it's oval, but it's got a more flatter area bit on the side here, which doesn't really matter if you get it or you don't get it, but it does give it that bit more kind of comedy, kind of skull, Halloweeny skull vibe. And you can see that that eye is much bigger than the other eye, but it doesn't matter at this point because we've still got loads and loads of material to work with. So I'm going to, and this is how I dig these eyes out without ripping out all the material that's left. So if I draw on here with a pen, I come from the outside edge into the eye, the outside edge into the eye, the outside edge into the eye, the outside edge into the eye. So I'm basically trying to do like hollow this out as if you were hollowing out like a spoon or something. You work from the edge in. And you do have to take your time with it and be patient. But I'm going to go from the outside edge in, outside edge in, outside edge in. And just repeat that process all the way around. Until eventually you have a cluster of chunks like so there. And then you can go under and pop them out. And now you've started to get the hollow of the eye. And then just very carefully try and work back to your pen or pencil lines. And as I'm going in, I'm scooping with the chisel. I'm not just going pushing the chisel straight in. I'm trying to scoop in and drop the handle of the chisel as I'm going. And now I'm working my way around the edge. I've gone awfully quiet because I'm concentrating. If anyone has any questions, please fire away.
If you guys don't want to unmute and ask, you can go ahead and put them in the chat and I'll ask them for you. Doesn't matter either way.
Okay, so you can see on this one now, I've hollowed out quite a lot to the extent that if I take my thumb, that's how much of it is hollowed out. So you can only see so much of my nail. But in the other side, it's nowhere near as deep. So yeah, that's all hollowed out quite a lot there. And then I would repeat that process, but I would just use a smaller number 9. And I'd start by going around the edge, and I'm undercutting the eye socket now. So I'm cutting under the brow and scooping under the brow. So the brow rolls over and into the eye socket. And I'll turn it into the same on the nose area. And if you feel the grain starting to break out, stop and move your position of your hands. Like I just had a breakout there, so I know I need to come back in the other direction. I had a breakout there, so I now need to work in this direction. I always remember a carver that I watched in a tutorial many years ago, discussing outlining the shape of an eye and how the grain direction change. Well, not the grain direction, sorry. The way you cut against the direction of the wood in different ways as you work around the eye. So don't try and convince yourself that you'll get around that orbital kind of arc in one swoop, because you won't. You'll just keep breaking. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that, to be honest. The depth of that eye is quite nice. I'm going to take my knife and I'm just going to take off my pen lines by, same again, rolling the blade and then carefully coming up around the eye, edges of the eye. Okay, so can you guys see in the inside depth of the eye there, there's a little cluster of chips where all my tool keeps hitting against the gouge mark from the previous one. I just go in, holding my chisel in this direction, and I just lever ever so gently.
And Rich, we had a question in the chat, asked if you have a YouTube channel.
I don't, unfortunately. I have considered it, but being a full-time lecturer in a university does take quite a lot of my time up. So I don't tend to have the time to run a YouTube channel, unfortunately. I am doing some on in-person courses. So I've got some one-day Christmas whittle sessions at the end of November and December. If anyone, they're in person, so they're actually here in Wales. They're not remote, unfortunately, but I am going to hopefully do some remote sessions going forward in the future. I know I had Tommy, I think, who might be on here. She did one of my courses a few years ago online. But yeah, no, I don't have a YouTube channel. Sorry, I digressed. Okay, so I've taken off the hard edge here and I've rounded that socket a bit more. You can see there's quite a lot of form for such a thin piece of wood at this point. I'm going to do the other eye if I've got time. I think I'm okay for time at this point.
You're doing good, man. We've got some time. Don't worry.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I'm going to go back in on the other side, try and block in the other eye. Or eye socket. I keep saying eye, but there's no eye in there. The eye's missing. So same as I did before, from the edge, scoop in. That's with the 7mm number 9. Okay, so I'm just going to clean that out on the deepest part. Sorry, I need to move closer to me. Okay, so now I have both eyes pretty much the same depth. This one is deeper, and I might come back to this one if we do have time, but I want to finish some other things off first. So what I'm going to do is just run around the edge, taking off that pen mark because it's getting in the way for me now. Okay, so chips in that eye, get out of there. So we've got our brow, we've got the top of the head shaped up nice. The nose we've done nothing with at this point. We've got this eye socket where I liked it. This eye socket's not bad, but when we turn it to the side again, we need to take this area back to bring this area forward. So we need to drop that back now. So we're going to go back to our trusty number 9. And we're going to dig away some material on the bridge of the nose, or lack of nose bridge, nose bone, the bone of your nose. Let's go with all of those. Okay, and same again on this side. Get rid of. So now depth. You see, I can fit my finger into that groove now where I brought the nose forward. And on my one, I actually took the example that I have here. I've gone back even deeper again. So I've taken the smaller number 9, which is the 5mm number 9, and I've gone over that again. To take it back even more. So it's deeper there. Okay. Okay, let's have a look at this nose then, is it? Okay, so let's have a look at carving where the nostrils would be. We're going to do something like this guy, but rather than it being heart-shaped, which is commonly done, we're going to make ours more of an upside-down V shape, just because that's my stylistic choice, I guess. So I'm just going to come into here now and draw a V. Hopefully everyone can see that. And that's the V that's inside the nose there. Okay, and then I'm going to just take a V tool because it's just quicker. This is a small number 12, 4mm number 12. I'm going to go up that line into the middle and stop. Up the line into the middle and stop. And repeat. And then turn the whole thing around and come from this way and go down and pop out that chip. And out it comes. And now I've got a little V shape carved in there. And now I want to take that hollow back in. So I'm going to take the tip of my knife, go back to my slightly wider bench knife, and I'm going to go in and take a big chip cut out because we all love the chip cuts to give depth. And out comes that chip. It's actually on the edge of the knife. There you go, you can see him. Okay, and now I've got that chip cut in there. That does give me some kind of form and shape. You can see this part here looks like the bone of the nose is coming forward, and then this part here is now got a triangle of wood removed, and we want to leave this bit underneath it here, because this bit underneath here will form the center section of the bony nose. So we're going to leave that bit there. But what we're going to do is we're going to take our, this is a number 11, a 3mm number 11, and I'm going to go back up that V I just did, but with this number 11, pressing harder. Sorry, turn in this direction if I can. So I'm going to press deeper in the bottom there, and then as I come up, I'm going to scoop in and out and scoop in and out. So I get a heavier mark at the bottom there, and lighter as I'm going in. I hope that makes sense. So I'll try it now here. So you can see, and there's the bit of wood that's just dropped out, and same again on this one. In, stop and pop that out. You can see that a bit better now where it's starting to get some curves. Can we see that? Does that help? Okay, so I'm going to jump back now to finishing off the cheekbones here a little bit, because the cheekbones are in line with the nose at the moment, and we've got some nostril action going on. We've got some the shape of the bone around here going on, but this part here needs to be removed because it shouldn't be the same height as this. I'll show you on the example here. This is further forward. If you turn on the sides, you can see that this goes back. Okay, so I'm going to take my number 9 again. I'm going to go in here and out, I've taken a big chip out of there and in there and out, and then I'm going to go over it again a couple of times and then take my knife and take off the hard chips or the hard edges where the tool has been left a mark. Now when I turn on the side, you can see we're deeper here, and this is forward, this is back, this is forward here. And we can go a bit deeper with it. So I'm going to just try and use my knife and roll cut, so you don't necessarily need a gouge. You just go in and roll your knife around. Like I say, folks, it's the first time I've used this mini hogger by Helvey. I have some other Helvey knives. I think I'm fortunate to have some other Helvey knives, but this mini hogger is just beautiful, and it's just so nice for roll cuts and getting into awkward places. And because it's got a thicker blade on it than what I'm used to, much thicker blades we get in Europe. The knives are a lot thicker than some of the American knives. That's just, yeah, it's just a beautiful little knife. Anyway, I digress. So we're hollow here, we're higher here, we're higher here, we're hollow here now. The nose is working for me. I'm going to just take a bit more off the sides of the nose to give it a bit more form. So I've just gone up the side there with the 9 again. I'm going to take off all my pencil marks because, or pen marks, because yeah, they're just getting in the way. So off they come, which will also mean that I can show the shape of the nose a bit better. Hopefully you can see the shape of the nose a bit better. There you go. Okay. And then we can refine any detail in the nose and round things off and deepen anything in whatever fashion you wish. Then, like what I tend to do is I will thin the edges of the nose out with a knife. I will run back around things to define things a bit more. Like I say, I'll take my number 9 again and I'll go up the sides of the nose and I'll thin that shape out. But I do leave some sharp points on it to try and make it look a bit more kind of, the character look a bit more bony, a bit more kind of Halloween-like. And I'm going to go back on the brow again. So I've got my brow, I've gone deeper there, trying to get it focus. Okay, and then I need to do something down here now, because the top half's working, and we all know we can just get in here afterwards and take off any of the saw lines. Use a wider knife, sorry. You can get in and cut all this off afterwards and round it a bit more. But we're just trying to focus on the features and getting some form here at the moment. And that's kind of working for me. I will take off some of the heavier marks that my knife has left, you know, with these chips or where the knife leaves flat marks. I'll take off some of the heavier ones of those, but I won't take them all off because I want to leave certain ones in certain areas to give it that, yeah, add to that kind of handmade monster kind of vibe. So let's tackle the teeth. So to tackle the teeth, what we do is we'll get a pencil or a pen and draw in some teeth. And I've just put 4 on this guy, and they're not the best of teeth. Let's be fair. But as in, like, yeah, you wouldn't want those teeth. But what I've done is I've tried to exaggerate bigger teeth and so on to once again give it some more character. So I'm going to just go down here and I'm going to draw on some shape of teeth. So there's one big tooth there. Put one in there. We'll put one in there. We'll put one on the end there. So there's my teeth for this character. Okay, so teeth quite straightforward. I'm going to jump back to my, what number shall I use on this one? I'm going to jump back to my number 11, 3mm number 11, and I'm going to just outline those lines I just put in. So, and I quite commonly, when I carve along lines like this, when I'm doing the teeth and I'm curving around the cuts, you can see getting these little tabs of wood. These little tabs of wood that stay on. So I leave them there, and then I do my next cut and come up to it and pop it out. And I'll go around those a couple of times, and 90% of the time my shape of my teeth will change slightly, because the more I dig away, I catch maybe the tool, or the wings of the tool on there, or sorry, catching one there, the wings of the tool on there, or I don't like the shape that the mark that the chisel has left, and I change the shape of the teeth. So I want this tooth to be further forward than this one, and given some other kind of dimension here. But also I want to make sure that I don't lose this part of the carving too much here, because this is where you've got where all your teeth actually go into, the gum area then, should we say. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back round the top of the teeth with that number 11. So go back over that again. And it's getting a bit rough, but it's okay. And then I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to start carving from the tooth into the gum where I've just been making those marks. Same again, I leave all those big flat chips on to show you guys how heavy I'm going. So there's all those big flat chips. And now I'm going to take that number 11 again and go back over that, outlining the teeth. It's awkward to kind of show on camera, but hopefully you guys are getting it. You can see now, when I turn it on his side, that is further out than the teeth. The teeth are higher at further towards the front of the face at the bottom, and they angle in. So they're further out here and they angle in. And I can just go back around and outline them again, making sure I'm happy with the shapes I'm getting. Okay, and then I'm going to jump to my V-tool, sorry, V-tool, and go back through the splits of the teeth there, to the splits of the teeth there, and there. And I've got little tabs of wood again, and I can take my knife and just pop those out. And I've started to define each of the teeth. And then I will take a little bit of time rounding these now, down into those grooves. And I usually choke up when I'm doing this, so as in I hold the carving up close to me so I have more control of the knife. But working over a table, it's a little challenging doing this, so if I go out of focus, I apologize. So you can see I've started to round them. They're quite crude at this point. It does take a bit of time to refine these. And then I'm going to turn the carving on its edge, and you can see this is where I've cut it out on the bandsaw. But now I've got some lines here between the teeth that I can use my V tool to actually follow through those lines and down off the edge. So I'll go through here, down, through there, and down. And the same on the other side. And now my teeth go round. And you just want to spend a bit of time going round with a nice sharp knife and start to round the teeth. Leave the gums where they are. Don't take anything from the mouth mound above. Just keep going round. And you want to round the teeth around. And then basically once you've done that and you've shaped all those up, and you can go in with your knife and you can do a sharper, deeper cut between the teeth. Take some little triangles out, maybe at the top, like one there. And I've added some shadow there. And the same in the middle here, take a triangle, cut out. So I've got one there now. And it just starts to take those teeth in, and then you can just round them as and when until you're happy with the shapes. And then for the actual top of the mouth here, this area, I literally just go around with a knife, cleaning up any bits I don't like, rounding that area down. Round that area down to the teeth. And see how round it is there, and you can see the teeth there. And then I use my number 11 to create these channels. So, and all I do for those is I essentially make them up, because they're not that heavy they're these little marks, see them above the teeth here? So I just exaggerate them and pull them up into this area here. So I start underneath the cheekbone and I go down and I turn my number 11 so I don't rip the wings on the side, catch the wings on the side of the wood and rip it out, and take out a curl. So there's one. I go on the other side and I try not to be as even, don't be even with it, try and be a bit, sorry, don't be symmetrical with it, because it looks a bit odd, and he says as he's done it. I've pulled it down, sorry, so it's not as symmetrical. Try and be a bit uneven with it as you go around to add these extra lines and form there and so on. But yeah, that's essentially the head done. I do go around the inside of the eye socket with my number 11. So you can see I'm making a curl cut. And I like to go around the inside of the eye socket with my smaller 3mm number 11, just because it just adds a little bit more depth. And when I paint it, it gives me an edge for the paint to pool in and stop. So you can see I've gone around that eye a bit more, and that eye looks much better than that eye now. I've gone round it with my little 3mm number 11. And it's just then just refining edges, going around softening things. If you don't like a hard edge here on the side of the temple or side of your eye here, then you can go in and do some more roll cuts, or take your flat number 7 chisel and round that out, and it's just taking away any of the saw marks that are left, and yeah, just giving it a bit more nicer shape and getting rid of where the bandsaw marks are left. But that's essentially it, folks. So once I got to that stage, one question that I always get asked is how I paint it. I'll talk about the eyes in a second, but some people always ask me how I paint it. So I have used boiled linseed oil to seal my carvings in the past, and for a long time that's all I used was boiled linseed oil. Painted it on, waited an hour, rubbed it off with paper towels, and then painted it with water-based paints like you guys have all done, I think. But I changed about a year ago to this. So this is alkaline refined safflower oil, I think it is. And I found this instead of the reason I moved to this from boiled linseed oil is I remember watching a video with Dave Stetson talking about boiled linseed oil, and as it gets older, it gets darker in color. And I didn't notice it for a long time on my own carvings, and then I noticed that some of my carvings I hadn't painted, for one reason or another, had aged quite a lot and darkened in color from the boiled linseed oil. So I researched into it, and oil artists tend to use this oil to dilute more of their whites and their blue tones to stop them from becoming darker, or the natural color of the boiled linseed oil impending on the color of the oil paints. So I started using this, and it works in a very similar way. It just works really nice if you're doing lighter colors like whites, Santa's beards, things like that. This works really nice on. It's in a little plastic bag because it's unfortunately got a leak in the bottle. But yeah, it doesn't tend to yellow very well, and it's like I say, it says it's favoured by artists for whites and blue tones. It does take a little longer to dry than boiled linseed oil, but other than that, it does actually work very similar to boiled linseed oil, and I use it like boiled linseed oil. So on it goes, rub it on. I finish my carvings, I clean them, take off any of the marks I don't like. Get a toothbrush, or give everything a quick once over. Get rid of all the little tiny chips that hang on, and then I oil it, leave it for a bit, pat off any of the excess oil, and then paint it with just normal crafters acrylic paints. This guy's been painted, if you want to know the color for this guy's been painted with burnt umber in raw umber in the eyes, burnt sienna for all the shadowing in the nose and the wrinkles and the teeth. The teeth has had a wash of yellow ochre over the top of them, and the skull, or the head itself, has a wash of white, just off-white, like an antique white. And that's how I paint my carvings. What I wanted to chat to you guys about was what I've started to do with this, which is a bit different, and I don't want to take up too much more of your time. But what I've done on this carving this year that I've not done on previous carvings is I've started to incorporate some of the things I've done in the past for my puppets or my walking sticks, and incorporated glass eyes. So these particular eyes in this guy are actually pre-painted. I think they're called cabochons. So they're small glass beads that are flat on the back, and they come with the color already painted on them. So you can see through the package here, these ones in here, you've got a multiple colored one there in the corner. It looks slightly paler than the yellow and the red. And yeah, basically I've started using these on some quick little whittles. I do like carving eyes, but I just thought these added another dimension. And you literally pop them into your skull, and it just lifts it a little bit. Once you've painted, and what I do with these is I paint everything, and then once I've painted everything and I've let it dry for a day or two, then I'll glue the eyes in, just with a little bit of epoxy or super glue or something on the back. And the other thing that I wanted to show you guys, which I haven't had a chance to do.
Hey, Rich, excuse me. On those eyes, is there a highlight on that eye, or is that just the gloss from
It's just the glass.
Okay.
So yeah, they're domed, and you can get them in loads of different sizes, loads and loads of different sizes. But because they're domed and they're pre-painted at the back, when you put them in, how can I explain? So in my puppets, I put them in because the puppet can look at anyone in front of the stage. Mm-hmm. It's like an eye that anyone can focus in on. Because of the dome, it always looks like the eyes are looking at you, even though you're sat somewhere different to someone else. They feel like the same thing. It's like the eyes are always looking at you. So yeah, it's just the light catching it, Dave, which is giving it those shadows. There's no white dot painted on them.
You're almost becoming a bird carver.
I know, yeah. Do you know what? They're very similar to bird carvers' eyes. They're just missing the wire on the back, and they. But I did want to talk about one other thing that I thought could be quite a nice idea for eyes. See what I did there? But idea. I've got loads of these. So these are turned wooden beads. They come in various different sizes. And initially, when I was doing this, I thought, right, I'm going to be a bit more of a purist and not put glass eyes in there. But I want to put wooden eyes in there, but I want to do a quick carving for people to be able to do. And commonly I get approached by people how, I can't carve eyes, it's difficult to get the eyes the same. So you can get these wooden beads, which would once again do the same job. They're just a mixed pack of random wooden beads. They're made out of birch, I think. And they could go in there as well. And maybe you could take a gouge and put a hollow in there. So you can maybe situate the eye. Pop out a hollow in the center of the socket. I'm just using that number 9 that I constantly use. So I've put a hollow in the center of the socket there. You could just take a bead and glue the bead into the hollow. And then the nice thing about these is you can angle them. Then if you had the hollow, you could make them look in whatever direction you wanted and use the hole in the center of the bead as the pupil. So I just wanted to share something different that I've been playing around with as an idea, and then incorporating either these or these into your carvings to make it a bit different and not always carve the eye. Or you could just leave it and just have it with no eyes in and just focus on it just being like that. But I think it looks a little bit more scarier when it doesn't have it adds a comedy value by adding an eyeball in there. I think it makes it a bit more fun and friendly.
Now, someone asked, do you flatten that? If you're going to put the glass eye in there, do you flatten a little bit of spot back in there, kind of like you dug out to put the round?
I didn't on this one, to be honest. I just glued it straight on. The eyes are quite flat in there. They don't look like they are maybe on the camera, but in the hollows there, they're actually. I hollow them out, but they're quite flat in the center of the eye anyway. So I don't find that putting the cabochon in, it doesn't sit too far away from the surface because they're quite flat anyway. Hope that helps. Oh, now I can see all my horrible marks I need to carve off. Anyway, yeah, I think that's it, folks.
Great job, Rich.
But
I've not seen any more questions in the chat. If somebody else has any questions, you can go ahead and raise that up and unmute yourself and ask him.
Please fire away.
Well, with questions not being asked in there, I'll just go ahead and say great job, Rich. We really appreciate it, man. Wonderful carving. Pretty cool. I look forward to look forward to trying to carve a few of those because that looks like it'd be fun for Halloween time. We're going to look at the bid in the chat and give you guys just another minute to place your bids if that's what you want to do. If you want to place a bid in there, go for it. We'll call it in just a minute. Just to remind you guys, coming up, let's see one more time. Let you guys know who's coming up here in the next couple of days or couple of weeks. We've got Dale Green coming up next week on October 26th. And then November 2nd is going to be Johnny Layton. And October 9th is going to be Pat Coffey. So just to remind you guys to be around and be here for those days and for the presentations. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Looks like we're going to call the auction. And let me go back through chat real quick. Looks like Ducky is our winner of the auction. So, Ducky, stay on after we get done here, and I'll get some information from you, and we'll get everything taken care of for that. For everybody else who's here, thank you guys so much for being here. Rich, thank you for such a great presentation, and just appreciate you guys being here, and hopefully that you'll be back with us next week. And thank you for being on the International Association of Woodcarvers. You all have a great week. Bye. I'd rather record the cloud. All right, man. You know the drill. Well, name, where we can find you. Welcome to International Association of Woodcarvers. And if you want to put your scary skull up there of what we're doing today, do that too. Cool. So turn it all over to you and whenever you're ready.
Okay.
Perfect. Perfect. Get the recording.
Thanks for the waving, Doug.